Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again this afternoon, and thank you for your patience as we were getting set up and having a few technical issues. But we are here now, and we are excited to feature Mathematica this hour. They're going to be talking a little bit more about their firm, their culture, types of projects that they work on, and maybe even some potential opportunities. So with that, I will turn it over to Nicole to kick things off.
Thanks, Caroline. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Nerona. I'm a senior talent acquisition specialist with Mathematica. I'm really excited to be here today to share, like Caroline mentioned, an overview about Mathematica. We'll definitely talk about who we are, what we do, some projects, examples of those projects that we work on, examples of kind of what our clientele look like here at Mathematica. And we'll definitely save time to talk about opportunities at Mathematica, how to go about applying for opportunities, and just kind of best ways to join if you're interested in moving forward with a position at Mathematica. And then towards the end of the presentation, we'll definitely save some time for questions. And I also wanted to highlight that I have my colleague Olivia Chan here. She's a research analyst in our health business unit, and she's also a Johns Hopkins University alumni. So we're excited to talk to all of you today. So first off, Mathematica, as you may already know, is a policy research company. We are a very mission-driven company, and that's why here on this first slide, we've included our mission, which I'll just go ahead and read off on the slide. It's something that's very important to us as a company. It drives all of the work that we do here at Mathematica. And so what that mission is to improve public well-being by bringing the highest standards of quality, objectivity, and excellence to bear on the provision of information collection and analysis to our clients. And what that means, just to kind of summarize a little bit, is that we do use data here at Mathematica very heavily. So we're a very data-driven company doing work pertaining to data collection, data storage, analysis, and also presentation of that data to our clients. We use that data to help answer difficult public policy questions. And most of the work that we do does center around that public policy and public well-being component. And our vision is kind of where we see Mathematica going in the future. So Mathematica is shaping an equitable and just world where evidence drives decisions for global impact. And throughout the presentation today, you'll definitely hear a lot about evidence being a core component of our work and how we provide advice, counsel, guidance to our clients. So a little bit about Mathematica. As previously mentioned, we are a policy research firm. I think that's how we're best known within the industry. But in addition to that, we also have expanded our work into consulting as well as technology development. So we do, in addition to our research positions at Mathematica, we do have a lot of positions within the tech space. You can think various IT-related roles, infrastructure, networking, security, as well as software engineers, data scientists, data analytics developers. So we conduct research, perform analysis, and develop technology to help address social challenges. All of the work, again, we do focusing on public well-being, but there are numerous areas of interest and focus that Mathematica centers on. And so some of those examples being health, disability, early childhood education, education in general, family support, justice, nutrition, and international development. And these areas are kind of broken down between our different business units. And I'll talk about our business units as we kind of move on in the presentation. So Mathematica was established in 1968. At this time, we have over 1,900 employees. And we've been employee-owned since 1986. So getting close to kind of the 40-year mark there. And to share a little bit more about what employee ownership looks like, because if you're not super familiar with it, not a lot of companies kind of structure their company in this format. And so What that means is our employees here at Mathematica own shares of the company. So we are the company shareholders. It is a driving force of our culture here at Mathematica. And so because all of our employees are shareholders, we all have a direct stake and contribution into the company's performance and how well it's doing moving forward. The other aspect of that employee ownership is also within our benefits. And so all of our employees being shareholders of the company receive shares of Mathematica as part of our retirement portfolio. So to touch on that a little bit further, here at Mathematica, we do have a 401k. 401k, pretty traditional. I think a lot of companies tend to offer 401k. Our company does offer a company match as part of that. But in addition to that 401k, we also have an employee stock ownership plan. And that's where that ownership aspect comes into play. So employees receive shares of the company. And as long as Mathematica continues to perform well and do well, we anticipate a nice increase in the value of those shares. And so here at Mathematica, we have 4 primary business units. And while all of our business units have some kind of overlap where they're supporting clients and using their resources, pooling their resources to provide those solutions to clients, each business unit kind of has their own specialization in terms of focus area, topics that they work on. And so I'll just highlight what those business units look like. So we have our health unit. I think health is maybe a little bit more self-explanatory, but focusing on healthcare topics, whether that's federal, state level, even private commercial sector. Our human services division, a little bit more varied in terms of topic areas. And so they're working to help clients focusing on policies around early childhood, education, employment, family support, nutrition, and a couple other sectors within their space. We also have our Mathematica Global unit. Mathematica Global, basically focusing kind of on those health, human services, policy issues, just on an international scale. So identifying priorities for clients, tracking progress of programs and policies that have been implemented in an international global scale, informing strategy, generating and interpreting evidence in order to help improve lives. And then lastly, but not least, is our administrative unit. Our admin team here at Mathematica provides all of those internal support services to our other teams. So you can think HR, so I'm under the administrative unit at the company, IT, legal, accounting, communications. We have numerous support services across our company. And so to talk a little bit about our leadership here at Mathematica, we haven't highlighted everybody on our leadership team, but someone definitely we want to talk about is Paul Decker, Mathematica's president and CEO. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read off this quote from Paul. For more than 5 decades, Mathematica has set the standard for objective, evidence-based research, data, and analysis that stand up to the most demanding review and scrutiny. We are committed to finding better ways to answer important social and economic policy questions and applying scientific rigor to policy analysis in innovative ways. And so again, you're seeing that evidence-based approach here, even in Paul's statement, research, data analysis, again, being kind of the core of our work here at Mathematica. And to talk a little bit more about Paul and his career, so Paul has been with Mathematica for 36 years in various roles across the company. And in addition to Paul, there's many employees here at Mathematica who have spent most of their career, if not their entire careers, with the company. And so we do have a lot of employees, with decades of tenure here within the company. One of the nice things to see about Paul's career is that he did start at Mathematica as a researcher, particularly as an economist, moved his way up to various senior level roles. And then in 2007, became our president and CEO. So a lot of growth opportunities, depending on how you want to take your career. You can definitely take it in different directions within Mathematica. To share a little bit of information about our clients. So on this pie chart here, you can see that 90% of the clients that Mathematica works with are in that public sector. So we've put some examples on this slide. You can see the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, one of our largest clients here at Mathematica, USAID, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Education. There's a couple of examples. We also are expanding and have a pretty good share of our client base within the nonprofit and foundation space. So one example for foundation being the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that we've worked with on a couple of projects. And then lastly here, you'll see that 1% kind of sliver on the pie chart within our commercial sector. So within commercial, one example being like we do have a commercial healthcare team. So that particular team is working to expand and grow Mathematica's clientele in that private commercial healthcare sector. So you can think, like pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, private sector hospitals. And while it's a small share of our market right now, we anticipate growth. We've been doing hiring in this space with new positions and hope to kind of grow and expand that market in the future. But right now, Mathematica is definitely very well known in that federal government and state government space. And so how our projects work at Mathematica. So we have several hundred projects within each business unit within Mathematica. And what project teams try to do, and it doesn't always work, but we definitely strive for this, is to provide opportunities depending on our employees' interests and their experience and expertise. So projects come into Mathematica, the government or any other potential client will basically propose a question. The questions that Mathematica gets involved in answering are those centered around various policy-related issues. And so what we do is when that question becomes available, we submit a proposal. Numerous other companies are also submitting proposals to help answer that same question. If our proposal is competitive, we describe in detail the staff we have, the resources to help answer that question. We could then win over that work. Some of our projects might be relatively small scale, others multi-million-dollar projects lasting several years. And then again, in terms of staffing those projects, so we do encourage staff to express interest, to talk about, what projects they would like to work on, to, keep their resumes updated and, to kind of focus on resumes in terms of experience and expertise in certain areas when staffing projects. Our projects go from life cycle, so very beginning, staffing a project to the proposal and sharing the information with our clients. We do also hire here at Mathematica project managers, so those kind of helping to navigate project work, making sure that resources are properly allocated, budgets are, on track in their capacity and in their roles. And then we share those findings. So findings go out to clients in various formats. So here's some examples being reports, recommendations. On the technical side, I also like to share that dashboards are also a big part of our work here at Mathematica. So some questions could be answered through interactive dashboards. And if you're curious about what that looks like, we do have some examples on our website of the different projects, the reports that we've created, as well as dashboards. And here you'll just see at the last point, different titles that we've hired for at Mathematica and that our colleagues and employees hold. So economists, policy researchers, data scientists, survey specialists, programmers, just being a few examples. And definitely wanted to spend some time talking about DEI, so diversity, equity, and inclusion at Mathematica. So DEI is crucial to the work that we do to, you know, being competitive and also just having an inclusive environment here within our company. And these are just a few examples of initiatives that Mathematica has implemented, awards that we've won within DEI. There's several more strategies and initiatives that we're taking part in as well. So I'll just walk through this in a little bit of detail here. So our 2022 to 2027 DEI strategic plan is something that our dedicated DEI staff have been working on over the last several years. And it's basically a journey to help embed DEI into Mathematica's daily practices. So making sure that, we're keeping DEI front and center for all of the work that we do and building that inclusive culture here at Mathematica. To help support that strategic plan and those initiatives, Mathematica has several employee resource groups within the company. And those groups also include affinity groups. So employee resource groups are more centered. For example, we have our Black employee resource group, disability employee resource group, Asian Pacific Islander resource group, Pride ERG, and then several others as well that employees can choose to take part in. You can attend meetings, you can join the leadership committee for those groups. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved. We also have affinity groups here at Mathematica. So other interests that employees might have, they can join different affinity groups based off of those interests. Here at Mathematica, we also have an employee experience council. That council is made up of a diverse group of employees at different levels, tenures, and locations across the country. One of the really nice things about our company is that we do have a lot of flexible positions. And so we've definitely embraced a more hybrid and remote friendly environment. So we do have employees scattered all about the United States and some employees working abroad as well. And so the Employee Experience Council, their goal is to help support the employee experience here at Mathematica and ensure that, different voices at different levels of the company are represented. And again, focus and align the employee experience with DEI priorities and goals within the company. And then the last 2 points here, just kind of talk and focus about some awards that Mathematica has won, focusing on DEI. And recently we've earned the DEI Disability Equality Index as a best place to work for disability inclusion. To the next slide. And so internship opportunities. So I'm very excited to talk to everybody today about internship opportunities as well. Here at Mathematica, we have a really robust internship program. Normally, our internship program consists of about 20 or so interns. Last year, that number had increased to just about 30 or slightly over 30 interns. We do have a dedicated internship committee within the company. I'm part of that internship committee, as well as some of our other HR and talent acquisition members. And our goal is to help develop an internship program that provides professional development opportunities to our interns, focuses on, sorry, I just had a pop-up coming up here. Apologies for that. I was having some technical issues earlier, and so I had someone on IT jump on. But yeah, so focusing back on internship opportunities, our internship program is structured to help all of our interns have professional development opportunities, have networking opportunities, and to get the best sense as to what it would be like working at Mathematica if you were to join us as a full-time employee. And so if you have an interest in Mathematica, you're still pursuing your degree, you have a little bit of time ahead of you before graduation, an internship opportunity could be a great way to learn more about our company. So in terms of eligibility, whether you're in your bachelor's degree program, pursuing a master's degree, or maybe even in a doctorate program, we have hired interns and have various positions available no matter what your class year is. Our internship program, typically the applications open up in, I would say, February to March is when we have a good number of our internships posted on our careers page. I would say like by April, I think all of them are generally posted. And we have a 10-week internship program. It is a full-time opportunity. So if you join us as an intern, you're able to work, and we encourage our interns to work 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. And all of our internship positions here at the company are paid opportunities. And so when you are reviewing a job description for a Mathematica internship, we do post a salary range on that internship job description, so you'll know right away kind of what to expect in terms of your salary for the summer. And that salary is really just kind of based off of education level and what type of degree you're pursuing. So PhD levels kind of being on the higher end of the scale. If you're like in your first year of your bachelor's degree program, that might be kind of on the starting end. And just to also highlight a couple of examples of projects that and sessions that our interns have participated in. We've done resume review workshops, so one-on-one resume reviews as part of our internship. We've done coffee chats. We've had team building events. For example, we did like paint and snack. So we had paint kits shipped to all of our interns and had someone kind of teach us how to paint a design that was pre-selected. And so just a casual opportunity for our interns to kind of talk to each other, get to know each other, and socialize. And of course, the primary component is focusing on project-related work. So our interns are fully, immersed in actual projects that Mathematica is working on. And to talk a little bit about some opportunities at Mathematica. So if you do have an interest in kind of looking at opportunities, if you're looking for a full-time post-graduation opportunity, I would definitely encourage you to visit this link on this slide. So it's our careers page. So if you just search Mathematica careers, it should pop up. That page will have all of our active positions. And the best way to go about applying is to submit your application on our careers page. And a recruiter will then be able to review it. So here, you'll see different titles, and just to talk through those titles a little bit, because I think that can help to align experience level with how we describe our opportunities on our careers page. So first off, we have an associate title. So associate titles are, for the most part, more of our entry-level positions. If you are a new grad with your bachelor's degree, if you see a title research associate or maybe like software engineer associate, that would be a great entry-level opportunity. So usually we're looking for like 0 to 3 years of experience. So you don't really have to have any hands-on experience. But if you do have internship experience or co-op experience, that can go a long way as well. We do take that into consideration in the application. At the analyst level, we're looking at individuals who have obtained a master's degree and or have several years of post-bachelor experience, so industry experience. Typically at the analyst level, you're looking for about 3 to 5 years of experience. So great opportunity for someone who maybe graduated with their master's degree and has a couple years of employment experience under their belt. And then some other titles that are used on our research side of positions include researcher or managing consultant, These opportunities would be most appropriate for someone who holds a master's degree with significant years of experience in the industry, or those with a PhD. And then lastly, on our technical side of positions, the titles might vary just a little bit. So you might not see associate or analyst. You won't see researcher or managing consultant, since that's exactly for our research side, but you might see, for example, like software engineer, data scientist. And in the job description, it will also let you know about how many years of experience the team is looking for. Okay. And then lastly, here, before we kind of save some time for questions, and then I'll also turn it over to Olivia to kind of share her experience and answer any questions as well. Just wanted to share a couple of tips in terms of applying to Mathematica. So here you have some recommendations for best practices when submitting a resume, cover letter, as well as your entire application. So just to kind of walk through that. On the research side particularly, a lot of our positions might require supplemental documentation. So for example, you might be asked to provide a writing sample. You might be asked to share a portion of your dissertation. On the technical side, you might be asked for a code sample within your application. And so we do encourage everybody to just kind of pay close attention to those details within the job posting. Within the posting, it'll let you know exactly what you need to submit as part of your application. We do see as recruiters several times applications that, might be missing portions that are required. So to help avoid that, definitely take a close look at kind of what the materials are. Most positions may only require resume and cover letter. But again, some of those more senior level roles or technical roles may also include those other additional components. For most roles at Mathematica, a resume is perfectly sufficient, and that's what we prefer. If you are applying for example, like a senior researcher or consultant role, a CV might be more appropriate. So just kind of depending on your education, your experience, if you have, for example, publications and presentations that you want to make sure get included and that you get considered for, then again, a CV might be the more appropriate route. We encourage you to keep your resume at one page if you can. So if you are pursuing your bachelor's degree or recently graduated with your bachelor's, one-page resume should be perfectly sufficient. Feel free to use the entire page. You don't have to skip on things, but we do encourage it to kind of be one page. If you hold a master's degree or have additional relevant experience that you want to highlight, going into 2 pages could be okay as well. To talk a little bit about cover letters. Here at Mathematica, some positions might definitely require either cover letter or writing sample, for example, those researcher roles. Other positions, it's strongly encouraged. I always like to highlight that, cover letter can really make your application stand out, especially if you're careful to tailor it to the role and the company that you're applying for. We know that this takes time, but as a recruiter, I can say, you can definitely notice that difference when someone is passionate about, the company, or they've done some research ahead of time, they're talking about project work that they would like to be involved in. And at Mathematica, I also like to stress that because our mission is so important to us as a company, and it's something that you would be involved in if you decided to come work here, talking about our mission and, why it aligns with your interests can also be a great way to start your cover letter. And then lastly, I just wanted to, in a few minutes here, just walk through a little bit in terms of what the application process looks like. And so again, if you're interested in applying for a position, we strongly recommend that you go to our careers page, submit your resume and application materials on the careers page. At that point, a recruiter will review your application. If the recruiter decides to move forward based on your application materials and the position responsibilities, they will reach out for a 30-minute phone call. So you'll have that 30-minute kind of chat with the recruiter about the position. The next step typically would be a 30-minute call with the hiring manager. And the hiring manager phone call, sometimes it's a WebEx interview, would be a little more focused on your, whether it's research experience or technical experience. So diving deeper into that. And then lastly, our interviews culminate with a WebEx. So a final WebEx interview where you're just speaking with multiple members on the team. All of our interviews do occur virtually, so you won't have to travel into an office to participate in any of the interviews. And I also want to highlight that while not all, most of our positions at Mathematica are eligible to work remotely, and that is anywhere in the United States is typically okay. And so that is it for my portion. Here on this page, again, you'll see the link to the Mathematica careers page. We also have an email in case there are any follow-up questions to our recruiting inbox. And I don't want to take up too much time, so I think I'll turn it over to Olivia right now, and then Olivia, maybe at the very end, we can save questions in case there's anything for you or anything that I can answer.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much, Nicole. And thanks everyone for joining today. And I know everyone's busy, but thank you for the interest. Just for some background about myself, like Nicole had mentioned in the beginning, I'm a health research analyst, and I've actually worked out of our DC office for the past 3 years, but I just moved back to New York City, so fully remote, as Nicole said, we can do. My background is in public health and social policy, and my kind of overall career interest is in advancing health reform and health equity through improvements to public investments, safety net programs, and the delivery of health and social services. So Mathematica seems like the perfect place for that. I joined Mathematica specifically because it prioritizes high quality research for the public good. And I thought it was a good space to strengthen my research skills outside of the academic setting, which probably a lot of us are more used to. And there's also just a lot of exciting things that are happening in the healthcare system right now. And it's such a complex and large part of our economy that it felt important to understand those opportunities within the healthcare system to address issues of health and poverty. And Mathematica is really deeply involved with a lot of federal and state health policy efforts and for different facets of health, whichever interests you might have. Like we do a lot of primary care transformation. We do a lot of work on health and community-based services, on immunization, maternal and child health, behavioral health. We do a lot of work with the nutrition service, so a lot on SNAP and other nutrition programs and much more beyond that. But most of my work at Mathematica has to do with federal and state projects to evaluate and implement health policies that improve Medicare and Medicaid programs. So the big like pockets of work that I do is implementation evaluation and program implementation, which just kind of looks like learning systems and technical assistance and like working very closely with state Medicaid agencies and practices to fully like implement the innovations that the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services works on. So some interesting projects that I worked on is with the Innovation Center with CMS. So they have this model, or they had this model called the Accountable Health Communities Model, which was actually present in Baltimore. So that was kind of looking at whether systematic screening and follow-up for health-related social needs could improve health outcomes and decrease like ED utilization. And so we worked on the implementation of that model. So that kind of looks like working with sites across the country to implement those workflows and like the necessary monitoring systems to report those data. And I was actually able to present some of our work that we did at the APHA, the American Public Health Association conference. So that was a really cool, like personal development or professional development opportunity, but also like a way to contribute to the project overall. Another important project is the Maryland Total Cost of Care model, which some of you might be familiar with, but that kind of looked at global budgets and if that would also decrease ED visits and improve coordination between hospital and primary care services. So I work on the implementation evaluation of that and talking to practices and federally qualified health centers to see how they are implementing that model and if they need any help, if there's any issues with the model and how it's designed. I think it's that really informs like the impact evaluation, which Mathematica does as well. And we do a lot of impact evaluation, but that's kind of more on the quant side, if that's what your interest is. And then another interesting thing was during COVID, there was a lot of COVID-related projects. So we at Mathematica did a huge contact tracing evaluation with the CDC. So that spanned from doing focus groups with people who had COVID, interviews with state public health officials, reviews of like contact tracing scripts, and like a big national survey. So I had a role in the focus groups there. And also we do a lot of like state projects. So there's a lot of state projects related to home and community-based services. For example, I lead the provider survey for Iowa, which is they need to do this needs assessment in response to some legal action against them for not like adequately providing care to people with disabilities in Iowa. So I'm going to stop there, but that's just kind of like an example of some of the projects that we do and kind of the range of topics and a lot of skills that you can kind of develop as you like join Mathematica, even if you don't have them coming in.
I saw a couple of questions coming in the chat. I think I responded to 2 of them that I saw. But in case anybody has any questions for me or for Olivia, we'd be happy to answer in the time that we have left here.
So I will also give folks the ability to unmute themselves if they would prefer to come off and ask you directly. If not, they can submit questions in the chat.
Question. Can I ask how long does a typical project take, or what's the end deliverable? Is there a research paper or the council details? Susan, I think you were breaking up a little bit. Could you repeat the question?
I was just wondering how long does the project, because I sounds like policy research projects can take very long. And how do we in the end deliver the project? Is it end deliverable? Is it a program or is it an evaluation report, or what kind of format does it usually entails?
Olivia, do you want to take that for some of your projects?
Yeah, I would say it really varies. So for example, a lot of these big federal models will last around 5 years. So the project could like span for the whole time, and you might have an evaluation report every single year. And it might look at different things. Like right now we're looking at federally qualified health centers, but like 2 years ago we were looking at health systems. So a lot of the time the deliverables are reports. And it's really based on what the client wants. So the contract really spells out what the deliverables are and how long the projects go on. So they can range, like the shortest projects are probably a few months, and those are much smaller projects and not typical for like large government projects, which usually span 1 or 5 years. There's actually a project that we just got right now that's a 10-year primary care model. So that will have like multiple deliverables over the course of like the whole decade that we are doing the model for. Is that helpful?
Yep, thank you.
Hi, I'm actually really excited about Mathematica. Your vision and mission are like right on track with my interests, and I've got a long history of doing statistical analysis. And I applied for some jobs, but didn't get an interview. I thought it was really in alignment. So my like really nerdy passion is Medicaid and Medi-Cal. I'm in California, and thanks for the information about how to apply. But I'm wondering too, like, are there things you look for? Like the internship at Mathematica just didn't align with my schooling. I finished my MPH and I already have a PhD in biostats. I'm wondering how to make my resume more competitive for you guys.
I'm happy to start with just like a little bit of feedback. So not having seen your specific resume, Lisa, I won't be able to share kind of those details. I'm happy to provide contact info if you want to reach out, one-on-one after the meeting today. But one thing I do like to share just with people in general who, have expressed interest, maybe applied a couple of times and unfortunately haven't gotten in just yet, is we do for our positions receive hundreds, if not close to 1,000 applications. One example I can just share is like my software engineer position. We have one opening. We received over 900 applications just within 2 weeks. So our positions can be pretty competitive in that aspect. And so sometimes it might not be a direct reflection of your resume. It's, if your application came in a little bit later and wasn't able to be fully reviewed, that might be a reason. Again, some of those pointers from the presentation, just with including cover letters, talking about your interest in the company, and just ensuring maybe you've had someone else review your resume for just simple things like formatting issues and, design, layout, that kind of thing can also help a lot. So I think that's just some of my general tips, but if you want to reach out as well, I'm happy to chat.
Oh, that would be great, because
Sure.
I've known about you guys since before I got my MPH, and I'm like, oh, wow, they look cool.
Awesome. Glad to hear about the interest.
Thanks.
Hi, I have a couple of questions. One I think maybe is more for Olivia, although maybe you could both speak to it. But I'm curious kind of what everyone's tenure on each project is. Like if it's a 4-year project, is the expectation that the project team, at least on the Mathematica side, is pretty stable, or do people kind of rotate based on what projects are coming in or their own interests?
Do you want to start, Olivia, or I'm happy to?
Yeah, I
jump
can
in?
start. I would say that, I guess, for some background, one of the things that I really loved about Mathematica is that you really get to choose your project. So let's say you're working on a project and it's not really quite the best fit, like you're not, this is not the skill that you want to pick up. It's possible to roll off the projects and help transition the next person. That is like 100% okay. I will say that for me, I typically join projects from beginning to end just because it's like just more interesting that way. Like you're able to have more of a bigger role if you stay on a project for a longer amount of time. So I would say that projects are typically pretty stable and transitions offer mostly for like balancing time commitments and making sure that people aren't, stretching their bandwidth where their quality of their work is degraded. So it's mostly about that versus like disinterest, because I think people are very willing to grow their skill set and learn about different things, even if it may not be the best project fit for them.
Great. That answered my second question too. Thank you.
Like maybe one other question in the chat for Olivia.
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't speak too much about our global unit, but we do have a whole entire unit that focuses on global health, and all of the global health stuff sits with them. So definitely, I think maybe Nicole, we can connect folks to the right contacts based on business units. And then, so could you share a bit more on that? Yeah, most of our projects are domestic health, yes.
Do people often hop between business units, or like if someone's on the global health side, it would be rare for them to work on a US focused project?
Yeah, so I'm happy to speak about that a little bit. So typically the position that you apply for will be based off of the business unit that you're joining. So we try to be very clear in the job description, like this is health, human services, commercial health, or maybe like a Medicare, Medicaid client project, just so that we can align that interest with, your application and vice versa. Typically, you will stay within your unit. So if you're applying for a position within health and that's a position you're hired for, you'll stay within health. But it doesn't mean that, our project work does vary. So doesn't necessarily mean that you're stuck on one project for your tenure at Mathematica. Our projects do vary. But again, like if you're applying for a position in global, you should definitely have that interest in international work as that's their primary focus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nicole. I just want to ask a follow-up question. I saw that you have a data science unit as well. So do that unit typically like support all projects when there is an element of analysis, or do they take on like standalone data science project? Because I have a background in statistics, I'm doing my MPH. I'm just trying to see whether I fit in more in the data science or in a house.
Yeah, so I'm not sure off the top of my head if that data scientist role is in health or human services. I know that health has been doing a little bit more hiring right now, so I'm going to assume it's health. But in terms of the technical skills and what the work requires, each position might be slightly different. For majority of our data science roles, they are looking for experience with like R, Python, Stata, SQL as
Yep.
some of their core tech responsibilities. But again, like some positions might have a particular project in mind, and the job description will kind of let you know as to, if there's like a different technical set or experience that they're looking for.
Okay, then in that case, I would be better suited in those technical roles coming from my stats background with all that language that you mentioned, rather than a house team, right?
Well, the data scientist position could be based within our health team. So you would be working within like healthcare projects
I
as
see.
a data
Okay.
scientist. Yep.
I see.
And again, I haven't looked at that position just yet. I
Mhm.
believe it's my colleague who is the lead recruiter for that. But I know our health team is doing a lot more hiring than human services right now. So I think it's probably in our healthcare unit.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you find that because it sounds like a lot of your projects are kind of associated with work that the federal government is doing, that there's a lot of like kind of flux time when there's a change in administration?
I'm sorry, I think I missed that. I was just responding to something in the chat. If it's directed to me, if you don't mind repeating that, Julia.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I was just curious, like it sounds like a lot of the projects that Mathematica does are in partnership with the federal government or like associated with federal programs. And I'm curious, like, if funding for those programs or kind of federal priorities shift with changes in administration, how much that impacts kind of the day-to-day at Mathematica and like the
Yeah.
overall strategy.
Yeah, that's a great question. And one of the nice things about Mathematica is because we're employee owned, our CEO has been pretty transparent that, while there can definitely be fluctuations in what projects come our way depending on the current administration, one of the things that Mathematica does consistently is line up project work in advance as well. So we do have like a back burner backlog of projects. So in the event things slow down, one example being like government shutdown. So that was something that, we had emails coming in to us about it. I know the last time it happened and it was a bit uncertain. We were told to like continue project work as we were moving forward. And so projects and proposals can definitely change with administrations, but we do have that backlog of work that we're consistently building upon and doing business development upon in advance to help ensure that we have enough project work and new projects going forward.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Now we have a couple more minutes here in case there's anything else. I dropped my email in the chat if there's any specific questions that I can answer. Otherwise, we also have just our general recruiting email as well from the PowerPoint in case there's more general questions out there.
Maybe I'll ask one last question. Because I'm curious about the employee owned model. So I'm just curious, like, do you still have like a target set in terms of sales? Do you have KPIs like for what type of study? For example, you mentioned you're trying to grow the commercial sector of your business. So in terms of growth strategy and so on, does it differ from a normal, like a standard company? Is there any difference?
We do have different business development projects in the works. As a recruiter, I can speak to, we have hired recently people within business development and strategy analyst roles, and those roles are specifically geared towards that business development and growth component. Doing research within the commercial health market to find out what markets we can tap into, what markets we're not involved in yet. And so if you're interested in that type of work, you can likely find some positions available in those spaces.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, well, this seems like a good place to wrap up. I want to thank the Mathematica team for presenting this afternoon. It was very informative and wonderful to hear from a Hopkins alum, Olivia, about her experience. So thank you, Olivia and Nicole. We very much appreciate it. And I did want to note for our students that our next session is happening very soon. It's actually going to be at 2:30 p.m. with Booz Allen Hamilton. So we hope to see you back at that time. Thanks so much, all, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.